Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for tuning into today's important update. If you or someone you know is a SASSA pensioner or relies on the South African Social Security Agency for an old age grant, then you're going to want to pay very close attention, because what we're about to discuss could significantly impact your financial situation in the best way possible. This isn't just another rumor or policy proposal, this is an officially confirmed update that has pensioners all across the country talking. Starting in June 2025, SASSA will be implementing a major increase in the old age grant, pushing the monthly payout to a record high of R5,610. Yes, you heard that right. R5,610 per month. For millions of South Africans who rely on these grants to make ends meet, this change is nothing short of monumental. Now, let's break down exactly what this means and how it will affect you or your loved ones who receive these payments. For years, pensioners have been advocating for increases that actually match the rising cost of living. With inflation affecting everything from food to electricity to basic health care, the old grant system often struggled to keep pace. SASSA recipients have long pointed out that the modest annual increases simply haven't been enough to provide true relief. But finally, it looks like the government has listened. The Department of Social Development, along with the National Treasury, has confirmed that the adjustment to R5,610 will begin rolling out in June, part of a larger effort to provide economic relief to senior citizens and vulnerable populations. So, what triggered this increase, and why now? According to sources within the Ministry of Social Development, several key factors aligned to make this possible. First, economic analysts have noted that South Africa's economy, while still recovering from past challenges, has seen marginal growth in sectors like mining, agriculture, and tourism. This growth has slightly improved the government's revenue streams. At the same time, social advocacy groups have put enormous pressure on lawmakers to prioritize the well-being of the elderly, especially given the harsh winter months approaching. A report submitted to Parliament earlier this year indicated that pensioners were among the hardest hit by rising utility costs, especially for electricity and transport. The report also highlighted that many pensioners were financially supporting grandchildren or extended family members, which makes the case for an increased grant even more urgent. In addition, there's growing political motivation behind this increase. With elections on the horizon, it's clear that the ruling party is keen to show its commitment to the most vulnerable citizens. And what better way to do that than to increase monthly grant payments? But regardless of the motivation behind it, the outcome is undeniably beneficial for recipients. The R5,610 payout will mark one of the highest pension disbursements in South African history, providing recipients with more financial breathing room than they've had in years. Let's talk logistics. How and when will this increase take effect? According to SASSA's official rollout plan, the new grant amount will begin reflecting in pensioners' bank accounts as of June 3, 2025. That means if you're already a recipient of the old age grant, there is nothing you need to do to qualify for the new amount. The increase will be applied automatically, and beneficiaries will receive SMS notifications and/or bank statements showing the new R5,610 deposit. SASSA has assured the public that all systems have been tested to ensure a smooth transition. For those receiving payments through cash pay points or post office outlets, similar adjustments will be made, and the same R5,610 amount will be distributed. Now, many of you are probably wondering, is this increase permanent or just a once-off? And the good news is, it's permanent. This isn't a temporary relief grant or a special bonus payment. It's a structural change to the old age grant system, meaning the R5,610 monthly payment will continue until any future adjustments are made. Furthermore, the Department of Social Development has hinted that additional support services may soon accompany the increased grant, including more accessible healthcare transport options, food parcel distributions for remote areas, and perhaps even utility vouchers for seniors living alone or without regular support. One of the most pressing questions we've received from viewers is whether this increase will affect the eligibility requirements. The answer is no. All existing SASSA old age grant recipients will continue to receive their payments as usual. The age requirement remains at 60 years and older for qualifying citizens, and the means test thresholds have not changed. That means your eligibility to receive the grant, and now, the increased R5, 610 amount, will still depend on your income and assets being below the existing limits. However, there's ongoing debate about whether the means test itself should be scrapped altogether. Many advocacy groups argue that South Africa's elderly deserve a universal basic income in retirement, regardless of their former employment status or accumulated savings. While that's a discussion for another time, it's clear the conversation is gaining traction in Parliament. Let's take a moment to understand just how impactful this increase can be on the daily life of a pensioner. For someone living on the previous grant amount of R2,180, making ends meet each month was incredibly challenging. Rent, food, electricity, transport, and medical expenses often added up to more than what they received, forcing many to rely on family, neighbors, or even local charities to bridge the gap. With this new R5, 610 monthly income, pensioners now have a much stronger foundation to cover their essential expenses and live with a bit more dignity. This could mean better nutrition, more consistent access to medication, or simply the ability to heat their homes during the winter months without having to choose between power and groceries. Economists have weighed in on this increase, too. While there's some concern about the long-term sustainability of the higher payout, especially in a country already managing budget deficits, the prevailing sentiment is that the social and economic benefits far outweigh the risks. When older citizens have more disposable income, that money circulates within local economies. They buy from local shops, pay service providers, and keep their communities functioning. The multiplier effect of even small increases in grant money can be felt across rural towns and urban centers alike. Some small business owners we spoke to say they're already preparing for increased foot traffic and sales as more pensioners come in with a little extra to spend. Another noteworthy point is that this increase brings South Africa a step closer to meeting global standards for social protection. The United Nations has repeatedly emphasized the importance of adequate pension systems in developing economies, not just as a moral imperative but as a cornerstone of sustainable development. By increasing the old age grant to R5, 610, South Africa is making a bold statement that it values the contributions of its elderly citizens and is committed to providing them with the care and respect they deserve in their later years. Let's also not forget the psychological impact this can have. Living in financial stress day in and day out takes a toll, not just physically, but emotionally. The feeling of helplessness, of not being able to provide for yourself or your family, can be devastating. With this increase, many pensioners are reporting a renewed sense of hope. They're already planning how they'll use the money, some to buy better groceries, others to cover transport costs to see distant family members, and still others to invest in small projects like home repairs or community gardens. We've even heard from several senior-led community groups who plan to pool their resources and create local support networks. With more money flowing into their communities, they hope to organize group transport to clinics, create shared food pantries, and support each other in ways that weren't financially viable before. This isn't just about individual relief, it's about building collective strength and community resilience. For caregivers and family members of pensioners, this news is also a huge relief. Many younger South Africans, especially those who are unemployed or underemployed, rely on their elderly parents or grandparents for financial support. In countless households, the SASSA grant is the only consistent source of income. With the new R5, 610 monthly amount, families will be in a better position to cover shared expenses and hopefully reduce some of the financial strain that's become all too common in multi-generational homes. We've also seen an outpouring of gratitude from viewers in rural provinces, where access to resources is often limited and every rand counts. For pensioners living in provinces like Limpopo, Eastern Cape, and the Northern Cape, the increased grant could mean the difference between walking kilometers to fetch water or affording a monthly water delivery. It could also mean being able to travel to town for medicine or groceries instead of having to wait for infrequent public transport or the kindness of neighbors. Of course, not everything is perfect, and we do have to acknowledge some of the challenges that come with this change. For one, there's concern about whether the SASSA infrastructure can handle the volume of disbursements efficiently. In the past, we've seen delays, system outages, and even cases of fraud that have left pensioners stranded without their money. SASSA has publicly committed to strengthening its payment systems and increasing oversight, but only time will tell if those improvements are truly effective. Additionally, there's the issue of inflation. Some critics argue that while the R5-610 figure looks impressive on paper, it may be quickly eroded by rising cost of living. Food prices, especially for staples like maize meal, rice, and cooking oil, have risen steadily over the past year. Transport costs are also climbing, largely due to fluctuating fuel prices. So while the increase is welcome, there's still a need for broader economic reform to ensure that the purchasing power of pensioners is protected in the long term. Another concern is accessibility. While urban pensioners often have easier access to ATMs, banks, and payment outlets, those in remote or rural areas still face long travel times and unreliable service. Some advocacy groups are calling for mobile banking units and more localized SASSA service points to ensure every beneficiary can actually access their funds without hardship. But overall, this increase is a massive step in the right direction. It's rare that we get to share such hopeful, positive news, and this is one of those rare moments when government policy aligns with the real needs of the people. The R5-610 monthly grant will go a long way in restoring dignity, stability, and a sense of financial independence to millions of pensioners across South Africa. It's a recognition, not just of economic necessity, but of the value that our elders bring to our families, our communities, and our country. So, what should you do now if you or someone you know is a pensioner? First, make sure your contact details with SASSA are up to date. This ensures you'll receive all official notifications and updates. Second, be vigilant. With more money flowing into grant accounts, scammers may try to take advantage. Never share your PIN or banking information with anyone. If you receive suspicious messages or calls, report them to SASSA or your local police station immediately. And lastly, take a moment to breathe and plan. Think about how this extra money can best serve your needs and how you can use it to improve not just your own life, but the lives of those around you. That's all for today's update. Please share this video with your family and friends, especially the elderly who may not have access to the latest news. Let's spread the word and make sure every pensioner is prepared for this exciting and impactful change. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to our channel for more important updates like this. We'll be back soon with more breaking news and helpful guides, but until then, stay informed, stay safe, and take care.